Good evening, Alex Theater. It's so nice to say that. It's been a very long time since we've all been together. My name is Mara Kelly, and I'm president of the board of directors and an alumna of the orchestra. On behalf of the whole Glendale Youth Orchestra organization, thank you so much for coming out tonight and helping welcome the orchestra back to our performance home. The last time we performed with an audience was on March 8th, 2020. The Glendale Youth Orchestra was the last concert or event here in the theater before shutdown. We were also the first orchestra to bring music back into the theater last November, minus an audience. We filmed a concert here that welcomed the theater back into its musical life. COVID was a difficult period for our organization because we had to pivot like everybody else. And Henry Shin, our music director and conductor, was the MVP. He put on his creative hat and worked his tail off. It is not easy to teach music over Zoom. It's virtually impossible to teach an orchestra together on that platform. But he did some interesting things. He worked on sight reading. He did an audition workshop. He broke the orchestra up into smaller groups because he was cognitive that too much screen time is not good. But he wanted to keep our students engaged and in touch with the orchestra. I am most grateful to his dedication, his learning to edit musical videos, and above and beyond time that he gave to the orchestra during that period. We would not have made it through COVID without some very generous COVID relief grants from a number of government agencies. We received grants from the following: the California Small Business Administration, which was a grant for nonprofits. Through the LA County Arts and Culture Department, we received a COVID relief grant, and through Arts and Culture Commission here in the city of Glendale. We are indebted to their generosity to arts education groups like ours, who would not have been able to continue during the last 20 months. The Glendale Youth Orchestra has a very long-standing tradition of offering scholarships to any talented young musician who wants to take part in our program. We never turn anyone away based on their family's financial situation. Because of COVID and financial insecurity of many of our families, the need for scholarships in various forms from full, partial, quarter has grown. In the lobby on the glass counter, there are envelopes where you could make a donation. We are a 501c3, it's tax deductible. You could also make a donation on our website. A little challenge. This is our 33rd season. Try saying that fast. This is our 33rd season, and if 100 people donated $33, that would be 4 full scholarships to participate in our program. Now, you could double that and make it a $66 contribution. You could give 15 if that's all you can donate. But please think of supporting the GYO as we venture back to the stage. Thank you all for coming out tonight to support our program, our young musicians. We wish you all the happiest of Thanksgivings and a very joyous holiday season.
Everyone, good evening. All right, yes. Are you excited to be here? It doesn't sound like it. Are we excited? There we go. Everyone, welcome. Welcome to those of you that are new. Welcome back. To many of you, our long-standing GYO friends and family. My name is Henry Shin. I am the music director and conductor of the Glendale Youth Orchestra. And I wholeheartedly welcome you to our first concert of the 21-22 season. I just want to talk a little bit about what we're going to do tonight. It's always nice to kind of know what we're up to. But first of all, I just need to say just how awesome it is to be in front of an audience again. It's just magical. It's been too long, and I know it's magic because my hands are getting cold and I'm getting nervous inside. So this live performance thing is real, and I haven't felt this way in over a year and a half, and it's wonderful to feel it again and to see so many of you and to share this experience with us. So thank you all for coming tonight. The program tonight is a very interesting one. It sort of evolved as we. Just before we started, I had a plan, and then after our first rehearsal, it sort of evolved into something else. And what it's resulted in is sort of, these are sort of gems of the 20th century, actually, is what the program ended up becoming as I look back at it. And the first piece that you're going to experience is Copland's Appalachian Spring, which, if you don't know it, it originally started as a ballet, and then, of course, the music became famous, and it got revised as an orchestral suite, and is often performed by orchestras pretty often. Whenever you program American music, usually you'll find Appalachian Spring. Simple story. It's basically about a bride and a groom getting together, sharing their sentiments, and they get married. And it's a very simple story and a simple American life, if you will. And the music is kind of reflective of the times for me, at least. Just everything that's been going on, and when you take all the Zoom stuff away, right, and all of that stuff, you take the computer and technology away. I got to experience life at home again. We all did, just being locked down, to experience home life once again. And just simple stuff, cooking dinner, and just being home all the time, spending time with family mostly. And a lot of this piece reflects a lot of those values. And I hope you will hear that. And this music is just so good and so famous that composers, particularly American composers and media composers, I don't want to say steal, but they borrow a lot of Copland's techniques, and you'll hear that this music has been used a lot in media, even today. And so you'll hear there's a sort of Americanness about this music. I also love this piece because it featured basically everybody in the orchestra. It really played to our strengths. In fact, all of our pieces today play to our strengths, and that's always how I like to program our music here. So. Without further ado, here's Copland's Appalachian Spring. Thank you all very much. All right, welcome back, everyone. I forgot to warn you that we normally take intermission after a longer half, but given the current times, I thought it'd be to kind of ease into the whole experience. We'll take intermission early and get some fresh air and then do all that stuff. So hope you had a nice little break there. And we're gonna on with the show. Here we go. So the next piece is a piece called Peter and the Wolf. A lot of you may know it. A lot of you you might have grown up with it like I have. It is a piece by Sergei Prokofiev, Russian composer of the 20th century. It was written about 1936, I think it was. And that was when Prokofiev spent some time in America, and then he came back to the Soviet Union right around that time. And if you know Prokofiev's music, particularly that time he was composing in the U.S., I mean, those were really big, intense pieces that musicians loved to play because they were both technically challenging, and it had this fire and intensity that came from the end of the 19th century. It was this great combination of technique and romanticism fused together, and it really pushed musicians to their limit. And particularly the musicians that performed his works loved it. And particularly soloists, those concertos, violin concertos, and the piano concertos, particularly the second and third one, technical monsters, but so fun to play. And that's what he was known for. And then he comes back to Russia, and then he writes this piece for children. and it's like, well, why? And people that commissioned the work knew this childlike quality of Prokofiev, and they said, you really got to write this piece for children. And he did. And we have this sort of wonderful story paired with music, which I wish we had more of. And this is truly a masterpiece in its own. It didn't really get the recognition it did when it was premiered, but nowadays, particularly for family concerts, children's concerts, you'll see it fairly often. It's usually a must for programming. It's for me, too, it's not often I program a piece like this because it does call for a smaller orchestra, and it just so happened to be that the complement of our orchestra pretty much matched the orchestration of this. I said, you know what the heck, let's do this. And then somewhere early on into the rehearsal, I realized, after the fact we were rehearsing, I said, oh, wait a minute, we need a narrator for this. And I thought, uh-oh, I should have thought of that before I programmed the piece. And so we got our heads together, and then we said, well, who are we going to get? And the idea came, well, we have a perfect person. Why don't we're going to ask Brad Keimach to come back, our former maestro of GYO. We're going to ask him, why don't we come back? And for a long time, I wanted to bring Brad back on stage because it's so important to me. In any organization, in any family, in any well-established group, institution, when there's a long-standing tradition, and if particularly when someone has had such an impact on a group like this for 19 years, I think he was here, you don't want to forget about that, And so for me, in any situation where I come into, particularly as a new person, I don't want traditions ever to be forgotten. And so for me, it's always important so as much as I can, and whenever I can, I'm going to bring Brad back in some capacity, one or another, because I think it's important. I really do. And so I thought, well, he's going to be great. So I asked him sheepishly, would it be possible? And of course, he was so happy to do it. So I'm so excited. So I'm really excited to bring Brad Keimach back on the stage as our guest narrator for Peter and the Wolf. Hope you enjoy. Thank you all very much.
Girls and boys, children of all ages, come gather round and I'll tell you the story of Peter and the Wolf. Now, usually before this piece begins, the storyteller explains how each person or character in the story is described by an instrument in the orchestra. But I'm sure you know all that already, don't you? Well, let's see if you do. I'll ask you a few questions, and if you know the answer, call out in a big, great, loud voice. Okay, to start off with, who's being represented by these two slide trombones? Right, the wolf. And who is this oboe describing? Right again, the duck. And now, the flute. You're batting 1,000, the bird. Now, who's this low character in the clarinet? Right, the cat. Then, of course, there are these noisy drum beats. What's that all about? Correct, the big hunters stomping along in their big hunter's boots. Now, who's this old lumbering bassoon? The grandfather. My, you really do know this piece, don't you? Well, that's all of them. Except wait, I forgot the most important one of all, the strings. And that is? It's Peter himself. I congratulate you on a perfect quiz.
Woo! Educated audience, good.
And now the story begins. Early one morning, Peter opened the gate and went into the big green meadow next to his house. The first friend he met was a little bird sitting on the branch of a big tree. The bird was chirping away happily, "All is quiet, all is quiet, all is quiet, all is quiet." Yes, all was quiet. Even the pond was still because there wasn't a breath of wind to ruffle it. Soon a duck came waddling around. She lived in Peter's backyard, and she was glad Peter had forgotten to close the gate, because now she could take a swim in the deep, still pond that was in the middle of the meadow. The little bird spied the duck and flew down next to her on the grass and shrugged his shoulders. "Huh," said the bird. "What kind of a bird are you if you can't fly?" "Ah," answered the duck. "What kind of a bird are you if you can't swim?" And she dived into the pond. They argued and argued, the duck swimming around the pond and the little bird hopping along after her on the grass. All of a sudden, something else caught Peter's attention. There was a cat sneaking through the grass. The cat thought, while the bird is busy arguing with the duck, I'll just grab him. And she slowly crept towards the bird on her velvet paws. yelled Peter to the bird, who immediately flew up into the tree. While the duck swam out to the middle of the pond where the cat couldn't touch her and quacked at the cat with all her might. But the cat was more interested in the bird. She crawled round and round the tree and thought, I wonder if it's worth climbing up so high. By the time I get there, the bird will surely have flown away. While Peter was watching the cat make up her mind, he suddenly saw his grandfather standing at the open gate. Grandfather was very angry because Peter had gone out into the meadow. "This is a dangerous place," he growled. "Suppose a wolf came out of the forest. Then what would you do?" But Peter paid no attention to his grandfather's words because boys like Peter aren't afraid of wolves. But Grandfather took Peter firmly by the hand, led him home, and locked the gate. No sooner had Peter gone than a big gray wolf did come out of the forest. In a flash, the cat scampered up the tree. duck's quacking became even louder than before, and in all of her excitement, she jumped right out of the pond. But no matter how fast the duck tried to waddle away, she couldn't escape the wolf. He was getting nearer and nearer, catching up with her. And bang, he got her, and with one gulp, swallowed her. And now, this is how things stood. The cat was sitting on one branch of the big tree. And the bird on another branch, not too close to the cat. And the wolf, still hungry, was walking around and around the tree, looking at them both with greedy eyes. In the meantime, Peter, not at all scared by any of this, was standing behind the closed gate, watching everything that was going on. Suddenly, he got a brilliant idea. He ran home, found a strong rope, and climbed up the high stone wall that separated his house from the meadow. You see, the big tree in the meadow was so big that one of its branches reached all the way over to the wall. So Peter grabbed hold of the branch and swung himself easily over onto the tree, right next to the bird. Listen, he whispered to the bird. Fly down and circle round the wolf's head. Only watch out, he doesn't catch you. Just as you say, chirped the bird, and down he flew. The bird came so close to the wolf's head that he almost brushed it with its wings, while the wolf snapped angrily at him from this side and that. Oh, how the bird did tease that wolf. And oh, how the wolf wanted to catch that bird. But the bird was cleverer, and there simply wasn't a thing that the wolf could do about it. Meanwhile, Peter had been making a lasso out of the rope, and now he carefully began letting it down and down and down until he caught the wolf by the tail and pulled with all his might. The moment the wolf felt himself caught in the lasso, he became furious and began to jump about wildly, trying to get loose. Peter tied the other end of the rope to the branch. And so the wolf's jumping only made the rope around his tail tighter. Just then, Peter saw some hunters coming out of the woods. They had been following the wolf's trail, and they were stomping in their boots as they came. But Peter, high up in the tree, shouted to them, "Good news, hunters! Birdie and I have already caught the wolf. All you have to do is help us take him to the zoo." So there's the story. And now, just imagine the victory parade. Peter, of course, in the lead. Following Peter, the hunters leading the wolf. And winding up the whole parade, Grandfather and the cat. Grandfather, of course, was pretty grumpy about the whole thing. "Well," he said, "and what if Peter hadn't caught the wolf? What then?" And above them all flew the little bird, chirping merrily, "My, what fine fellows we are, Peter and I! Look what we have caught! A whole wolf!" And And if you listen very carefully, you can still hear the duck quacking, very softly, of course, from inside the wolf's belly, because the wolf, in all his excitement and hurry, had swallowed her alive.
Everyone enjoy that? It's been, it's just, live storytelling, there's nothing that's better than that, really. And then live storytelling with music, it's just, that's like the best thing ever. And I experience that a lot these days because I have a 3-year-old at home that's, we're constantly listening to it's always, Alexa, play the story for Cinderella. Alexa, play the, it's Beauty and the Beast. It's always one of these stories. And speaking of my daughter, the next piece is Leroy Anderson's The Typewriter. Now, for a lot of us, we don't even know what a typewriter is anymore. I think it's funny because I was thinking about, who was the last generation of people to use a typewriter? I think it was me. And I was thinking about it because I'm getting a lot of requests from high school seniors, particularly, even some of my college students that are asking for recommendation letters. And I was thinking to the time when I was doing college applications, and it's right around this time. And I did my college applications on a typewriter. I did, yeah, because there was no internet at the time. Can you believe that? Yeah, there was a time there was no internet. And so you either hand wrote, filled out the application, or if you were lucky and you had one of these devices, you used a typewriter. You'd use a blank form and then you would type it. And if you messed up, you would have a correction, or you would use whiteout. It was a thing, it was a whole thing. And it took way longer to fill these things out, way longer than what you all are going through now. And so, yeah, typewriter this is pre-computers, right? This is what we used to make forms look, professional. And there was not a separate printer. You would hit the key, and it would stamp the letter on the piece of paper. And if you messed up, like I said, you have to use whiteout, or you'd have to scratch it out, or you just start all over again. It was this whole process. People that grew up with it and used it know what I'm talking about. All of you that didn't use it, you don't have no idea, because all you hit is delete, 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 and then you just fix it. Right? Yeah, okay. You can't imagine, yeah, it's crazy when you think about that. Well, I wanted to do this piece because, it's the holidays, and my daughter Chloe is now starting to talk, and she's starting to understand Santa Claus, and it's going to be her first Christmas to ask for presents. Because now she starts to want things. And so I said, Chloe, you know, we gotta write a letter to Santa. We have to write it out. So, you know, why don't Daddy's gonna program the typewriter, and then we'll type it out to Santa and we'll send it to him, right? And it'll be all great. And then hold on one second. Oh no. I just got a text from the people that deal with this up in the North Pole. I think that my daughter's gonna be sad. I programmed it thinking that Maestro Brad would come and he would just type it out and we'd have it all, you know, it all done. And they want it certified and notarized by an official elf or Santa's helper that's licensed. Is there anyone in the house that is certified or licensed elf? Oh! We do! Maestro Brad is certified in that. Woo! All right, here we go. That was fun. I got the letter from Santa. Yay! Okay, Chloe will be happy. Okay, and so we want to close out. This is a holiday concert after all, because it's now getting to be the holidays, and so it's for me it's always nice. Whatever you celebrate during the holidays. I grew up with Christmas tunes all around everywhere I go, elevators, malls, markets, radio, everywhere. There's a lot of great orchestra holiday music written, and so why not play it? So to kind of get you in the mood and to end the concert and and then get into the holidays, we're going to play a little Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas so that your evening is over. Thank you all for coming, and hope to see you in March when we have our next concert. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.